Climate change is making news almost daily. Most scientists around the world agree human energy use has led to global warming. But is everything doom and gloom? There's hope in permaculture, or permanent agriculture, and you can start to make a difference now. Next on Living Smart. Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. Does global warming concern you? Is there something you can do? Permaculture is an ecological design system for sustainability. It teaches people to build natural homes, grow their own food, and restore diminished landscapes. Our guest, permaculturist Diana Petrochellis, will share her knowledge to help us combat climate change. In cities all over America and Europe, viewers are watching a film on an unlikely alliance between people in the European and American North and the Latin American South.
But today, in unexpected places around the globe, a whole new chapter of that story is being written. One of those places is here, in the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador.
Pachamama is an organization that has been around for a while that work in the Amazonic jungle with a group of people called the Achuar that are one of the original tribes in the Amazon. They started to have to deal with people wanting their oil.
So they formed an alliance with Americans and Europeans to learn to negotiate with the oil companies and the government, then to call for awareness of key environmental, spiritual, and social justice issues and make us more aware of our role in the preservation of the planet.
And the Pachamama Alliance was born.
Since 1995, they have been working to change the dream of the wealthy countries.
We are the North. All our needs in our society requires an enormous amount of energy. It's not sustainable.
The Pachamama Alliance says the old dream of wealthy countries is to consume and acquire more, while the new dream represents a sustainable planet based on social justice for all. Diana Petrochellis helped organize the first symposium in Houston.
This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth.
It's not only the American dream, it's also most countries that are totally developed, that we are living way beyond our means. And so this symposium is for people to be informed by scientists.
Now an American citizen, Diana Petrochellis was born in a small town in Argentina where she learned to revere nature.
I grew up looking at the mountains right there. The river was our playground. So the mountains, the rivers, the creeks, the fish, the butterflies, the birds, these were the toys where I was growing up.
Today, after decades of working as a corporate consultant in intercultural relations, corporate responsibility, and conflict resolution, she became a permaculturist and now heads the Pepperina Foundation to develop ecological restoration projects here and around the world.
Permaculture is the design of an ecological system for human life in a sustainable way. What it means is that we train people, we educate people to live in harmony with the environment.
You can see the bird nest right in that
yeah.
honeysuckle right here.
Bob Randall is one of her teachers. His own organic garden is a classroom for permaculture students. Randall's organic garden feeds his family year-round.
What we do is we let the soil microbes do the tilling. And in order to do that, you have to feed them a really good diet.
What does it mean? What is
well,
that
you
diet?
have to give them high-quality organic matter, stuff that comes from tree leaves and tree branches mainly.
And they only eat what's in season, just like we did only decades ago.
This one looks like it might be ripe right here. So we could give you something to eat tonight. Let's see how that's doing.
Permaculture also keeps waste to its minimum.
Because of our recycling, we maybe put out trash every 2 months. Most of what is being consumed here is put right back into the property.
Right. Hello.
Recently, Diana applied many of the permaculture lessons she had learned over the years to ongoing projects in Argentina and Africa.
For the third world to live in an ecological way and to live in what we call an eco-village is a matter of life and death. Because if they don't do that, they're ill and they die. So we teach them to build their house with the natural materials that they have in their own area. We train people to install and build water collection, harvesting systems. We do the kind of agriculture that is organic, that is sustainable.
In her hometown, climate change has led to forest fires due to an unprecedented drought, followed by an intense rainy season causing erosion.
I hope this never happened, but the retention wall could give, in which case part of the town will disappear because the river will go so amazingly high.
In all her projects, Diana gets the communities, governments, and corporations involved.
We find corporations that are genuinely interested, then they're open to discuss how we're going to benefit the community. They also get labeled for being in compliance with the environment and a green orientation in their policies.
In Smiley High School in Houston, she plans to build an organic garden in this space for No More Victims, an organization for children of incarcerated parents.
There's nobody cooking dinner at home every day. So we are going to create a garden in the school, and it's a food production garden. We're planning on improving the health of these children this way.
Recently, in the Festive World Conference of Permaculture in Brazil, Diana was able to share what everyone at the meeting wanted to achieve in their countries and the world.
Sometimes people say, what can I do? What can I do to do something for the environment? Designate 30 minutes a day to be outside in a place full of trees and observe.
Diana Petrochellis, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. Now, you said permaculture is an ecological system. What exactly does that mean in layman's terms?
Mm-hmm. Well, it means that we live in harmony with nature. We work with nature rather than against nature. And what that means is that we use what is there, whatever there is, to build houses appropriate for the climate conditions of that area. In a way that people can actually live in the houses without having electricity, running air conditioning, heaters, etc.
And you use the materials from the area. You're not transporting a bunch of material from other parts of the world or other parts of the country. That's a very important part of permaculture.
Very important part, yes.
What are the principles? Because that's really important in permaculture, the principles of permaculture.
Yeah, permaculture has 3 principles. It's the care of self, care of the earth, and give back to people or to earth the excess. It appears to be very simple concepts. However, to be able to care for something, you have to know the needs of that something. You have to know how that something or someone works or needs. Mm-hmm. So it requires an understanding of how I keep myself healthy. It requires an understanding how the planet works. And so we can work with the planet to be all in harmony, living here.
So that in itself has to do with, for example, the cycles of nature.
Yes.
Right? And you're observing nature so you can learn how it works and, eat the certain fruits at a certain time of the month, etc.
Yes. It has to do with food. It has to do with growing food. It has to do with harvesting food, preserving food. It also has to do with water collection system. I mean, when it rains, how big my collection system should be, how small, how often the rain episodes are going to be, etc.
What are the tools of permaculture?
One of the most important tools of permaculture is observation. In order to know what nature gives us, we have to be able to observe nature and figure out, because it cannot talk to us.
Right.
So observation is a very important tool.
Now, you live sort of in a permaculture system yourself. You're trying to build one around you. You've moved to another country so that you can live this way.
Yes.
Give me an example of how your life is like and how you're trying to live the permaculture way.
Well, my husband and I are intending to live with the cycles of nature. Mm-hmm. And so what that means is that, the fruit, one particular fruit, let's say apricots or cherries, they get ripened in a 30-day period. So they are going to go to waste, or we will do something with them. Now, being permaculturists, we have a great value of this gift of nature, so we don't want to let them go to waste. So there's 30 days that you have to collect this fruit, you have to cook them, can and dry them, stew them,
whatever you have to do,
eat them,
so you don't throw them away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you always have this. I went into town and told my friends, "Come over. I have way too many apricots." So they just came home and got some apricots.
Yeah, you learned to share because you got plenty.
Well, this is like giving back to people.
Right. Part of your excess, giving back your excess. Now, you lived in Houston many years. Are you hopeful about what Houston is doing to combat climate change?
I think that Houston is in the right path. I mean, it's not an easy task for a city like Houston, based in energy from petroleum, to actually turn around and become sustainable. So it has an extra value, the efforts that the authority are doing in that sense. Texas is at the forefront of the wind power energy development, and Houston is the second city after Dallas in the amount of power bought from plants that are producing power from wind sources. So that's a wonderful step into the right direction. The other thing that is happening in Houston, that it will be great to see it moving faster, is the public transportation system. You see, in the medical center, they put the railway, the monorail. It really worked out pretty nicely, the mess of traffic.
Congestion.
That
got a lot better.
That the medical center was. Now, at this point, that capacity of that train is already obsolete. We need another one. And one of the ways of fighting global warming is to actually use public transportation and leave the car at home somewhere.
So support public transportation.
Support public transportation, yeah.
What concerns you on a global level about the planet right now?
Nothing really. The planet, I mean, we have the tendency to focus our attention outside, so now we want to focus the attention on the planet. The planet is just fine. The planet has been around for millions of years, and whatever we do or don't do to it, it will subsist. It will outlive us.
It will regenerate.
Completely. I mean, it has a track record to do that. But the thing here to ask is, are we going to be in this planet much longer, and how much longer? Because it appears as if our actions are turning the planet inhospitable for us. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the hints about this is that the scientists are saying that there are 15 species a day that are extinct, forever gone.
They're disappearing forever.
They're disappearing
15
forever.
species.
15 species a day. Now, how is that relating to us? Let's say that they're fishes, insects, I don't know, plants. Well, if we relate to this planet like a fish tank, you have a fish tank at home, and now one day you wake up and there is one fish floating around dead, you will say, well, doesn't matter, maybe I bought it was too old. The second day you have another one. The third day there is another one. It's time to check the water. See what happened with the pH in the water. Maybe the fishes are dying because the pH is off. I don't know if there's enough people in this planet checking what is happening that 15 species are dying daily. Are we going to be next? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I would like to invite people to be in that inquiry. We are part of this planet. We are not outside the system. So chances are that sooner or later it's going to be our time too.
The rainforest is something that concerns you as well.
Well, statistically, this is what happened. Every second, this is the important part, every second one entire football field size of forest somewhere in the world is being chopped down. Every second, one entire football field is being chopped down. So my question is, I'm not an expert in forestry either, but my question is this chopping down the forest at that rate, which is an amazing rate, I cannot even come to terms with the numbers.
Yes, it's amazing.
Is this going to affect the future of the planet for my children, my grandchildren, for future generations? Is it anybody checking at this? What is the impact of what we're doing with the forest?
Those are the questions you need to ask. In the United States, you were also concerned about topsoil.
Yes. Here in the United States, we have lost between 25 and 75% of our topsoil. Now, what is topsoil? Topsoil is the dirt in which we plant and we get the food from. This is the fertile land, you know. So if we have lost between 25 and 75% of the topsoil, how much longer can we feed ourselves properly? How many more chemicals are we going to need to add to the soil to actually feed ourselves? And then the other question after that, immediately after that, is where are the chemicals going to go by the creeks and rivers into the ocean and do what to whomever lives out there? So,
why have we lost that much topsoil?
It's degradation.
Degradation.
And there are different causes for degradation. There is wind, there is water, there is pesticides, herbicides, there
development.
is development, there is extensive agriculture.
Now, do you feel that now that there's so much talk about global warming, there is a new wave of sustainability, people are becoming more aware?
Yeah, I think that people, thank God for that, a lot of people concerned and asking the question that I asked myself as well. One of those people is the Pachamama Foundation have created a site that I invite people to look at. Is www.awakeningthedreamer.org. And you can see in that site all the references and all the statistics about the conditions of the planet.
We just read there that in Alaska there are 3 villages that have already had to move because of the melting of the ice. So it's happening here in the United States already.
It's happening.
And locally, where do you turn? You talked about urban harvest. Why urban harvest for permaculture?
Urban Harvest is a magnificent organization that is led by Bob Randall. Dr. Randall is a permaculturist, my professor, and a person that has been fighting for the health of the planet for years. If you would like to know how to grow anything, how to grow your own food, even if you live in an apartment, you know, if you want to participate in a community garden, go to Urban Harvest. They will tell you how and they will set you up.
Because that garden is inside town. It's not somewhere up in the mountains, somewhere out there. It's inside the urban area.
Yes, well, the garden that Dr. Randall is showing us is his house in a corner in suburban Houston. Exactly. This is not acreage out there in the countryside. This is not a farm. So he is actually a man that completely walked the talk, and you can see that it's possible to live sustainable right here in Houston.
One way to know how you're living is an ecological footprint. What is it? Where do you get that information? Why is it important to know it?
Ecological footprint is the demand that each one of us are on the environment, and it can be measured. So you can go to Google's any search
ecological footprint.
Google it, ecological footprint, and it will come a website, and you put your information there, and it will tell you what is your ecological footprint in the environment. And then in a second page, you will have the opportunities you wish to do so, is to see how can you reduce that ecological footprint, most likely that we all have to, and see how much you reduce it and so on. You know, become aware of what is exactly that my impact is in the planet is fundamental to move forward. Fundamental.
You found out that even though you're living as a permaculturist, we're still not in a good spot.
Well, it was really a shock. I mean, I went into the internet and I measured my husband and I, there's two of us, and so I measured as a family, already moved to the countryside, already living outside the city, what I thought it was a very responsible way. And when I finished inputting all my data, I found out that we were using, if every single human being in this planet was to live with the standard of living that I live, we will need 8.5 planets. Shocking. Really shocking, because here's me thinking that I am walking towards sustainability and being responsible. So anyway, just passing the shock, that I recommend to people just not to stay there with the shock and actually get in action, you know. Passing the shock with a great deal of optimism and thinking, I'll make it here. Go to the second page, I did that, and put all the promises that I did to myself, that by the end of 2008, I'm going to improve this, less car, less plane trees, etc., etc. The result was that I actually saved one planet. So I got 7.5 to go. And just not to leave everybody in anguish about this, I want you to know that the reason why I got such a high score as a footprint, it has to do with my continuous being on top of a plane. You know,
right, because of the carbon dioxide emission.
Exactly.
So that was when you realized that that was the big problem.
Yeah. There is another thing also that did that high score. And the other thing is that we as Argentinians, we are meat eaters. Now, the score there is based on the red meat that you can find mostly in this country, right, that is grain-fed.
Right, so that creates some problems.
Yes.
Tell me, you talk about electricity, and that's obviously where a lot of waste goes because it's coal-oriented. What have you learned about electricity, how to save on electricity, how to waste less electricity?
You got to turn things off, you know. I mean, of course, there are all kinds of devices that use less electricity than, but, I mean, I think that the question is, do I need all these electrical appliances? Do I need an electrical toothbrush? What happened with a regular toothbrush? I remember going as a little kid to the dentist. They'll teach me how to brush my teeth. I never had a problem with my teeth. So what's wrong with going back to that?
Doing the manual way.
The manual way. You know, what happened with a can opener?
Right.
You know, I mean, why do we need an electric can opener, electric juicer, electric blender, electric everything? It's not so long ago that I was little, and my mother had a quarter of the appliances that I own today, and she fed us very well, you know.
What do you think is one of the most important things people can be aware of or can do for sustainability?
Well, stop buying.
Consume less.
Stop consuming. Stop consuming. I mean, truthfully, at least among my friends, I'm a middle-class Argentinian American, and so I have friends here and abroad. I don't know anybody that need anything. Need in the sense of needing. What we only need is to stop buying.
That'll help a lot.
That will help a lot.
But that might not help the economy, right?
I think that is a misconception. It's a total misconception to think that we have to consume more to activate the economy.
Right. Now, the alternative to coal, there are many alternatives to coal. One of them is ethanol, but you found something out that was very important about ethanol.
Well, it worries tremendously. It worries me tremendously that people think that ethanol is a sustainable answer. I don't think it's sustainable. I think Brazil is having ethanol, and I think for the time being they may be able to pull it off. But if you see, going back to the forest, if you see at the rate that we cut in our forest, and ethanol, in order to be produced, they have to, in Brazil, is sugarcane that they use for ethanol. Some other countries use soy or other things, you know. So if we start planting for fuel, who and where are we going to plant for food? We already don't have enough forest to keep on going at the rate that we're going, cutting them down. So if we use the land that we have for agriculture for fuel, then people will go hungry. And
how do you know you're living smart?
I'm living smart because I'm doing my passion. I'm inspiring people. I hope I'm inspiring people
Yes,
to be
you are.
in action about the environment. I keep on asking questions about the environment. I keep on learning about it. And I keep on engaging the children also, at least in my family, to be in this conversation.
Thank you so much, Diana, for joining us. We really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome.
For more information on this topic, go to our website. There you will also find a complete resource list. You can also email us or call us with your comments at 713-743-8513. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a sustainable week.
For a transcript of this program, send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.